Okay, so we were looking at trees, and within that we were looking at three different traversals: in order, pre-order, and post-order. And pre-order traversal was something which we were writing down. And in that pre-order traversal, we said that we just print the node followed by the children from left to right. Just that we print the children also in pre-order manner, and therefore when you reach a child, you go first to the grandchild, and so on, right? So that becomes our pre-order traversal. And I had asked you to suggest if we can write it in an iterative manner, right? Any suggestions on that? Okay, so if there are, okay, and this says RR arrow print after the for loop. Okay, so in an iterative manner, this will not change because RR arrow print has to be before the for loop itself. If in fact, if you put RR arrow print after the for loop, whether in iterative or recursive manner, what will happen? Any suggestions? Okay, so if we put RR arrow print, okay, sure, no problem. Right, as Suryanarayan and Andrea suggest, this is going to become a post-order traversal where we print the children first and then print the node. And then Mayank is suggesting using a stack, right? So many of these depth-first traversals require you to store, because I have not yet printed the current node, right? And when I go to the child, I'm going to try printing the grandchildren first and then come back to the child, right? So I need to keep track of grandparent, parent, then the node, then its child, then its grandchild until I reach the leaf. All of these need to be kept track of, and I have to print those in the reverse order. And therefore, a natural data structure that comes up here is a stack. In fact, that is what we exactly did when we used recursion, where the recursive call stack was essentially used to keep track of under what context I am operating. Under what context meaning? First the root, then its appropriate child, then its appropriate grandchild, and so on. So this was kept track of in a stack, which we unwinded as we returned from individual function invocations. Right. So using stack is a good idea, and let me show you how the code is likely to look like. So we have iterative pre-order. We are not allowed to call pre-order again, right? And note that this pre-order required a pointer, whereas this one is not going to require that. So I maintain a stack of whichever are the parent nodes. So at any point in time, the stack is going to contain all the ancestors of the current node. The invariant is at any point in time, the stack contains all the ancestors of a particular node. So initially I push root to the stack so that I can just have this condition that while stack is not empty, I'm going to remove the top element from the stack and then process it. What do we mean by process it? Well, I remove this element and process it, meaning I print it, because I'm talking about pre-order, and then print its children in the same order. Now, in the same order requires me to push. Earlier we were doing pre-order of the child. Now I need to push that child into the stack. Let's see if something else happens in this case. So there is a small, let's say, difference in the way the two recursive and iterative methods work. But otherwise, this part more or less remains the same. Right? So this part, except for this pushing of the element into the stack versus calling of pre-order, these two, there is a difference, but otherwise the main code remains the same. This is a setup code because we need to start from the root, which is what will be called, this function will be called from, let's say, pre-order without any function arguments. And here I'm going to use the condition if stack not empty. Right? So here it is going to be decided by until there is, until you have exhausted all the nodes. Right? So does it print exactly the same? Let's say I have, let's say as simple as one followed, one is the root node, which has two children, 2 and 3, right? The recursive and the iterative, do they print it in the exactly the same order? Is the output the same in recursive as well as iterative? Okay, so right, so that's a good observation, Madhu. It's a right to left inversion happening. Let's understand what's happening there. So in case of recursive, if the root is 1, which has two children, 2 and 3, then I'm going to go to, I'm going to call this function with 1 here. 1 is going to get printed. Then for children 2 and 3, I'm going to call pre-order, right? So, and that is in that same order. So therefore pre-order of 2 will get called, which will print 2. And then pre-order of its children, it doesn't have any children, so it returns. Then pre-order of 3, that is the second child of 1, is going to get done. And therefore it will print 3 here. So therefore the output is going to be 1 followed by 2 followed by 3. In contrast, this is going to print 1 because that is what is added first. So it is going to print 1 here. And then the stack is going to push the children. Now the children are in the order 2 and 3. Therefore, these are going to get pushed as 2 followed by 3. When you come back in the iterative manner, we are going to remove the top of the stack, which is going to be 3 rather than 2. And therefore, we will print 3 first here. Then we will print 2. That means that the children of at any level, not necessarily at children of the root, at any level are going to get printed in right to left order versus in the recursive manner in the left to right order. This is the only difference. As we said that the ordering amongst children does not matter maybe in this application, and therefore it is okay. If it matters, then we have to change this such that we have to push the children from right to left, so that when you pop those out, it becomes left to right. Okay. Alternatively, can we use a queue here? Any suggestions? Instead of a stack, if I say that I'm going to use a queue, will that be okay? Anish says it will be Brett first. Abhishek says no. Mayank says no. Madhur says no. Why is that? Because I want children in left to right order. So queue will suffice nicely for that purpose. So why will that not be a good idea? Right. So as Madhur and Abhishek are suggesting, this is going to be in level order fashion, right? So the tree need not always be full, that is all the levels are present, right? So it's possible that there might be some, let's say in this case, 1 is the root, 2, 3 are its children, and then 2 has some child 4. 1 is the root, 2, 3 are its children, and 2 has child 4. In this case, we want the output to be 1 followed by 2 followed by 4, then 3. Whereas if I use a queue, it becomes more like I'm going to push 2 and 3 to the queue. And after that, when I'm processing 2, I'm going to push 4 at the end of 3, and therefore it is going to print it in level order fashion. It will print 1, then 2, 3, and then 4. It's not going to print 4 before 3, right, which is what a pre-order traversal expects, right? So therefore using a queue is not a good idea, but you should use a stack, but you can reverse the children order. Good. Any other concerns, questions here? Okay, I think this code I'll skip because we have already discussed it on the screen. Okay, so what we would like to do is that we have this pre-order traversal of those directories, right? Let's say that you are given that as an input and you would like to indent those, right? So you don't have to get into how to access files, etc. So those functions you can get into, of course, if you wish, but you can assume that there is some directory structure which is given to you. And you want to print it similar to the tree command, where you are going to print it according to the depth of a particular subdirectory or file. What does that mean? That means the root is going to have 0 indentation. Then its children are going to have 1 indentation. 1 meaning it could be 1 tab or 4 spaces, whatever, or 1 space, doesn't matter. But this spacing is going to be dependent on the level at which a particular node exists, right, in this tree. Any suggestions on what can be done to achieve this? Mine says we'll pass an int indent variable to the function and print accordingly. That is correct. Exactly. So something more is required, right? So pass indent plus 1 to the children, and that will make sure that the children get 1 level higher or 1 indentation larger, and that will be printed before printing that particular child. So RR arrow print can be replaced with or can be preceded with some for loop which prints those many spaces or tabs, right? Initially you pass another indent variable which is going to be 0 for the root, and then you go on increasing it. So pre-order of child comma indent plus 1, right? So as Mayank has suggested, that is going to make sure that it is appropriate. What will you do in the context of iterative function? So the small issue with the iterative code is that you don't have this context information, which was very nicely there when we passed indent as an argument, which means that we'll have to maintain that indent somewhere. Right? And right. So one of the ways is that we can pair the values along when we are pushing a child node. Along with that, in the child itself, we can keep track of, let's say, the indentation level, or the stack could be of pairs rather than a single node. That pair consists of the node as well as the indent level. Right? So that is both are the ways that Yashwant and Mayank are suggesting. Andrea says keep a counter for each time we go 1 level down and pop parent. Each time print those many tabs. That is correct. So we keep track of that. Whenever we go 1 level down, at that time we increment the counter. But there is some small issue with that. Right? So this doesn't, I mean, this is correct, but this is incomplete. There is something more required in the iterative version. Okay, let me give you a hint. Abhishek says we have to keep sentinel to check next level. That's possible because see, that stack just exists and is just iterating over the stack, and you don't know where that boundary is. Right? So therefore, we'll have to be a little more careful about uh, when that boundary exists. I mean, this uh, this particular iteration of the while loop is going to pop exactly one element in every iteration. Right? The while loop pops exactly one element in every iteration, but it can add multiple elements in each iteration to the stack. And therefore, we need those boundaries to make sure that we are changing the levels, right? So that will be a small issue. Uh, Counter, yeah, okay, fine. Okay, so therefore, that's the reason why we cannot afford to have counter plus plus and at some point in time counter minus minus, right? So because that stack contains that information, and that counter minus minus might not be the correct thing, right? It will be counterintuitive. And therefore, using that counter may not be the right thing to do. Okay, fine, good. So without any indentation, right? The way we have written the code on the screen, what is the complexity of the recursive code? Time complexity. Okay. So, okay, Mayank says order n, where n is number of nodes. Ashwin says order number of nodes. Andrea says order n since we go to each node. Okay, so let's understand that. So for every node, we are printing it, right? So RR arrow print is the work done for every node, and therefore RR arrow print is going to get printed n number of times. So that part is okay. For each node, we are also doing some for loop, right? What is that for loop doing? It is going over the children and then calling a function. Doesn't that mean that for every node, I am also doing an extra work, right, apart from RR arrow print, which is going to be proportional to the number of children it has, right? And therefore the complexity should be higher. Any arguments for or against that? So I hope the my argument is clear, right? So if it would have been RR arrow print for every node, then it is definitely order n. But now I am doing some for loop per node, right? And that for loop is going to go over its children. Number of children could be arbitrary, right? So we didn't say that it has a limit, and therefore, won't there be some higher complexity than order n for this recursive pre-order code? Okay, Surya Narayan is with me. Aniruddha says it will depend on depth. Possible. We are just talking about worst case complexity. Tanya says no. Andrea says, but we go to the lowest level first and print up to lowest level and then keep returning. That is true, but then that is work, right? Even printing is okay, that I agree. But going to the level and coming back. Isn't that work? Mayank says printing is constant, and for loop, let's say in worst case, we'll go order n. Yes, that's possible. But that needs to be done for each node. Mrutyunjay says it is order of number of children raised to height. Okay. Okay. So depending upon the height, it is going to do exponential amount of work. Okay. Madhur says order 2n, as we need to add each node in stack and then remove it. I'll wait for a few seconds for more suggestions. Abhishek says it will depend on children, order of number of children raised to node. Raised to node meaning the work done at every node. Okay, into node, number of nodes. I see. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's understand this. And it's a little crucial. So there is RR arrow print, and that we agree that it is going to be order n across all the nodes. Right? If RR is also a computation, and that is also order n across all nodes. This particular for loop, if we assume it to be at every node, which is going to be the case, then we might end up saying that there is some work order n, which might be in the worst case order n per node, and therefore the complexity will rise to n into probably n, and therefore the complexity might become maybe n square. However, and that is correct. I mean, order of n square is a correct, but not a tight bound on the complexity. Andrea says at each step we call pre-order child, so it goes down and goes over lowest children. So we encounter each node only once. That is correct. And what Andrea is suggesting is that this looping over the children can be addressed to this constant additional time given to each node. How does that work? Let's understand this. For auto child colon RR arrow children, right? So this is going over each child exactly once, right? And pre-order of child. So there is some bookkeeping required for each node in addition to printing it. There is bookkeeping required for each node in addition to printing it. That bookkeeping is coming from the parent. Each node has exactly one parent except the root, and therefore the amount of work that I need to do per child is going to be constant. The amount of work that a parent does per child is constant, and therefore across children, the children could be order n, that is perfectly fine. But then we can attribute that work to each child. What does each child do? Each child is printing it and also doing constant amount of work per grandchild. So this constant amount of work that a parent is doing can be given to the child, and therefore the child does twice the amount of work now. I mean, I'm just converting what your parent does into what the child does. Right? So the amount of work from the parent, which could be order n, can be actually a more tighter way of saying it is that the amount of work that a parent does is constant amount of work for printing itself and some work that it does proportional to the number of children. That some work is now it is being pushed just for the accounting sake to each child. What does each child do? Each child is doing printing itself, which is order 1, we are assuming that is order 1. And then there is some work which is coming from the parent. And this you can do for each child in the tree. And therefore the amount of work per child is going to be twice then printing it. That is order 1 into 2. And order 2 is still a constant. And therefore, we will be able to say that the overall work done is going to be order 2n, and that is order n. Right? So therefore, pre-order traversal is going to require us order n time. That is the tightest bound that we can think of for the recursive implementation. Madhur says, aren't we just adding the nodes to the stack and also popping them and then printing them? Then it should only be 2n. That is another way of looking at it. Sure. So if you think about it in the iterative manner, you will see that the amount of work that is being done can be nicely checked based on how many times a particular child is pushed to the stack. Right? This was implicit into recursive code, but becomes explicit in the iterative code, as Madhur suggests, that each node is going to get pushed to the stack exactly once, and therefore the amount of work that needs to be done is for pushing that node is order 1, and then after popping, that is another order 1, and printing it, that is another order 1. So there is, let's say, 3 times the work that we are doing, but it is 3 times constant. Whatever we are doing for iterating over the child, that still needs to be accounted for, but that can be attributed to the stack push, right, of one child. And that makes it order 1 per node, and therefore the complexity becomes order n. Yes, that's correct, Madhur. So I hope this argument is clear. Order n square is correct, but it is not tight. Order n is the tighter bound. In fact, we should be able to even say that in general, the complexity is going to become order n plus order number of edges. And the reason being that we are also iterating over the edges. When we are going over the children, we are essentially going over the edges of that node. Thankfully, in case of trees, the number, each node is associated with only a single parent edge. And therefore, each child node is going to be referred to by any edge exactly once. Similar to what Madhur is saying in terms of pushing and popping of a node. Therefore, in case of trees, when you have n nodes, we have how many edges? N minus 1 edges. And therefore, the complexity turns out to be order of n plus n minus 1, which is order of 2n minus 1, which is order of n again. Right? This is important to be considered now itself, because as we come to the graphs, where each node might have multiple parents, at that time this will become order n plus order m, which is the number of edges, and that will become handy for us once we understand it at this stage. Okay, so that seems interesting. How about when you have the indented? Okay, there is a question. Which is better, iterative or recursive, if both have the same time complexity? Yes, in terms of complexity, they are equivalent. In terms of absolute performance, typically the iterative version works out a little better because you know exactly what to push on the stack. Whereas the system is going to do, when it calls the pre-order repeatedly, it might not know what all to push, so it will just push all the context information. That will be a little costly, and that little cost will go on adding as the stack depth increases, that is, as the tree size increases. Therefore, absolute value of iterative version is likely to be better in this case. Plus, this recursive code doesn't seem to be tail recursive. That is actually, this is a tail recursive code. Let me just see. Yeah, so at one point in time, I said when we were discussing about iterative and recursive is that there are some fixed types of recursive codes which can be very nicely optimized by the compiler automatically, such that its performance becomes equivalent to the iterative code. Those functions are essentially tail recursive code. What does that mean? That means that the last instruction last instruction in that function is a recursive call. It's not an arithmetic thing. In this case, if we think about the assembly instructions for pre-order, pre-order of child is going to be the last instruction, and therefore this is a tail recursive code, and therefore its absolute time, I mean, assuming that the compiler performs this optimization of tail recursion, it will turn out to be similar to the iterative code. So in this case, it will perform, both the codes will perform almost the similar way. In contrast, if we look at, for example, factorial, right? So we'll say the factorial call is going to be, I'll just write it down. There will be some instructions before, and then the last instruction is going to be return n into factorial of n minus 1. Here, the last instruction is not the recursive call. The last instruction is multiplication before returning. And therefore, this is not amenable to tail recursive code. So, yeah, typically the function stack might take a little more time, that is correct. And therefore, that adds up. In case of tail recursive code, that stack gets overwritten because it's the last instruction. The stack that you have already for the function can be reused for the next invocation, and that is what happens in tail recursive code. So anyway, keep that aside. Those of you who didn't understand it, ignore that. But in this case, even the absolute times will turn out to be very similar, assuming that the compiler has performed tail recursive optimization. Okay. Okay. So my question was that if I allow now indentation of files as per their depth, what is the time complexity of either the recursive or the iterative? That means for root, it is going to be additional 0 amount of work. For level 1, it is going to be additional 1 amount of work per node. Then 2, let's say, spaces or tabs for level 2, and so on. Okay, Mayank says n square. Shamia says n square. Mayank says cause n into n plus 1 by 2 for spaces plus n for nodes. And yes, is for recursive only constant work per node, as we can keep track of it using indent variable at each call. That is correct. So we are keeping track of the indent variable at each call, but we'll have to still print it using a for loop. Right? Those many indent levels we'll have to print on the screen, so that will still require us order level work per node. Is that reasonable, Andrea? Yeah, it won't be the case that it will be automatically adjusted like what happens in our editors. That we go to the next line and then that indent is automatically taken. Right, so that will not happen. We'll have to print it. Correct. Okay, so let's. So although this order n square is correct, again it can be a little bit tightened. I'm not saying that it's going to be something below that. It can be in the worst case order n square, but it can be tightened a little bit. The reason it is going to be possible to be tightened is because we can make use of the height of the tree in this case, and the height of the tree can be a little different. Right? So Madhur here has says n into height. Right? Aniruddha says, for worst case complexity questions in tree, the tree structure will also be the worst case. Yes. And there are two extreme cases of these trees, right? So one is going to be that it's a very bushy tree. Bushy tree meaning the node has large number of branches, right? So therefore, it becomes a very bushy. So it essentially means that nodes have large number of children, and therefore the height of the tree is going to get reduced. As soon as the height reduces, the number of indent levels that you need to go to reduces, right? So that is one thing. The other extreme is that the height is too large. And why will that happen? Because it's a very lean, thin tree. Each parent has only one child, right? So you just go almost like a linked list. Yes, as Madhur says, the other extreme is the linked list, where you are going from sequentially one place to another. In that case, the number of indent levels that you will require for the last one is going to be order n. But the number of children that you need to worry about is going to be order 1. Right? So there is a kind of trade-off between the number of indentation levels that you can have in terms of the height. And therefore, bringing in height turns out to be a more reasonable thing, because the height can go from, it could be order 1 height, or it could be order n height, right? So it will not always be order n square, although n square is the correct bound, but it can be probably corrected to, or not corrected to, but tightened to n into height. So that becomes useful. I hope this concept is clear. Any questions on this one? Okay, so I'll move ahead from here. Yeah, as I was mentioning, we need to take into consideration the indentation time also. Okay, so let's now come back to our directory structure, right? So we thought of printing it in the pre-order fashion. Now I'm going to give you a problem which you have to solve. Given this same directory structure, okay, what I want to find out is the weight of each directory, right? So weight in some sense is the size of that subdirectory. How do I find the size or weight of a directory? I say that each file has weight of 1. So that 1.c, 3.c, readme, cv.pdf, all of these have weight 1. And each directory also has a weight 1. But the weight of a particular subdirectory is going to be decided by what all is contained inside it recursively. Which means that, for example, if you take the directory acad, here, its weight is going to be 4. 1.c, 2.c, 3.c as 3, and acad itself, and therefore its weight is 4. For first, the weight is 2. Second, the weight is 2. Third weight is 2. And therefore, the weight of IBM is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 for itself. So it becomes 7. And so on. So Somesh has a weight of 14, and therefore Slash has a weight of 29, whatever. Right? I hope the question is clear. In case the setup is not clear, then let me know. So each file has a weight of 1, and each subdirectory also has its own weight of 1. But in addition, it needs to have the weight of all of its children, grandchildren, etc. Now I want the weight of each of these nodes to be computed, right, in this tree. How will you write the code? Right, so I have given you the problem. We want to compute the weight of each node in this tree. You have access to the root. How do you compute that information? Please spend time thinking about it, and we'll discuss. Murari says 1 plus weight of root arrow left plus weight of root arrow right dot 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 return 0 if root equals null return 1 if root arrow left equals null and root arrow. So return 1 if it is leaf. Return 0 if the root is null, that is the node itself is null, and then 1 plus weight of all its children. So this is going to be probably a for loop rather than left and right. So that is correct. Okay. Mayank says root equals null, return 0, total equal to 1 for root. For each child in root dot children, total plus equal to compute of child, return total. Okay. Okay, I'll just add one small recursion will work. Okay, sure. Recursion. Murai, did you ask us to do it iteratively? No, not necessarily. It could be done recursively or iteratively. Either way should be fine. Sorry if I said iteratively. That was not the intent. Chotu says count weight root is null, return 0, x equal to 0, iterate over all children, x plus equal to count weight of child, then return x plus 1. Okay. Sure. So one thing which I'll just mention here is that, add it to the problem statement, is that let's add that weight. So assume that each node has that weight field inside it. So let's update that weight field. Abhishek says tree is binary or can have any number of children. No, the tree is not binary as we have on the screen. It can have arbitrary number of children. Okay. So I'll wait for a few more seconds for people to try out and then we'll discuss. Andrea says directory size pointer to node RR. If RR arrow children equals null, return 1. Okay. Else return 1 plus directory size of RR arrow children. So, yeah, a couple of points here. One is that we have to, RR arrow children is a dereference. So we have to first check if RR is non-null. So that requires us to also take care of the base case where we need to return 0. The second one is pointer to node is pointer to one node. Right? But we are passing directory size of RR arrow children, which might not be one node. It's probably a vector or an array of children. So we'll have to have some sort of a for loop. But I understand at the logic level, this seems to be all right. Good. Okay. So void should be int. And yeah, void should be int. That is correct. Okay. So yeah, so these codes are all correct, and there is one of the important observations that this code does is that you know the directory size, a particular subdirectory size, only after going through the whole subtree. You know the directory size of, let's say, Somesh only after you have gone through the whole subdirectory of Somesh, right? So you should go through ACAD recursively, intern recursively, test.c recursively, and then only you will be able to figure out what the directory size of Somesh is. That means that I am going to be able to talk about Somesh after having looked at all its subtree, and therefore this leads to a post-order traversal. Right? So I'm going to look at the node after looking at the children recursively, that leads to the post order traversal. So the iterative code will essentially look like this. So exactly, or the way we had written for pre-order, this RR arrow print was before, now it is going to be after this statement, right? And the iterative code, I'll leave it for you to figure out, but yeah, I think I'll skip this in the interest of time. Any questions on this post order traversal? So the pre-order set, go to the children first, then go to the, go to the children and therefore go to the grandchildren all the way up to the leaf. Let the leaf be processed first. In fact, the leftmost leaf is going to be the first process. Then the once you have processed the leaf nodes of the last but one level, then process the leftmost node in the level last but one level, right, and so on. So then you come back. So that is how the pre-order traversal is going to. Whereas in the post order, we are going to say, sorry, I missed it. This was post order, that you go to the leftmost leaf and process it first before going to the parent. In case of pre-order, you are going to first process the node and then go to the child. So that was our pre-order. RR arrow print was printing it first for the node and then going to the children. Whereas in post order, RR arrow print is going to be after the children are printed, but the children are printed recursively, and therefore the whole subtree beneath is going to get printed. So I'm just showing the post order traversal code, but what all of you have written, I think those are the codes which are going to keep track of the weight or the size of each subdirectory. Okay, so let me just highlight the story so far. So we so far talked about general trees, which means that each node can have arbitrary number of children, which many applications have requirement for. But then there are special trees which is having fixed or bounded number of children, maybe bounded by k, right? So those are called as k-array trees, which also resembles several situations in real life. For example, expressions like we have binary operators, etc., Boolean flows, etc. And all the children may not be present, right? So I'm not talking about the class, I'm talking about all the children of a node in a tree might not be present. So those are in some sense special trees where there is a bound on the number of children, not n, and that is not in terms of n, that is a different constant. So those trees we are going to look at in the following classes. I think I'll stop here. If there are any questions, we can take those up now. Aniruddha said, in general trees, when each node has a different number of children, what is the recursive structure in data structure tree? I didn't understand this part. So we talked about the representation of the trees. So that could be two ways. One is in terms of the next sibling pointer and first child pointer. Another was using a vector of children. Is your question related to that or something else? I didn't, sorry, understand that. The recursive structure, if you're talking about the abstraction, that is still going to be a tree because you still can have arbitrary number of children at the next level. So we say that a tree is either empty or it has a node which has zero or more children. Each of them is also going to be a tree. Right? So that will be a recursive definition.
Sir, since each node can have different number of children, won't it cause a problem?
Like, I mean, what will be the problem?
I'm not able to exactly like state it, but for example, in linked list, we saw that there was a base case, and then the iterative case was like a node can can either be a single node or it can point to another linked list, right?
Right.
But here, the even a linked list is a kind of a tree, right? So the various structures in the tree could be, it seems to be really varying.
Oh, I see. Okay, I think I vaguely understand what you are saying. So, okay, so there are two parts to the tree. One is that each child itself is going to be a tree in itself, right? So that is one part. But the number of such children is arbitrary, right? So I have a feeling that your question is related to this arbitrariness in terms of number of children. So typically it gets defined in terms of 0 or more, but that is only in the word related part. When we have to define it in terms of implementation, then this precisely the same issue came up, that how do we keep track of the arbitrary number of children which might be present inside a node, and therefore we required a slightly different structure which required us to use sibling nodes, sibling pointer and the first child pointer, and that allowed us to go over all the children as well as go over all the siblings of a particular node. Alternatively, we could use array-based structure, which was not possible directly. So therefore, we had to use dynamic arrays in some sense. That is what the vector internally takes care of. So that is what we use. But yes, that arbitrariness is a little tricky, and therefore we require special consideration to the implementation, the representation of that.
Okay, so
Surya Narayan says we use for loop treated over children inside the recursive function. Yes, that is fine. I think Surya Narayan was trying to answer Aniruddha's suggestion. Any other concerns, questions? Anish says, can we discuss post-order iterative implementation? I'm not getting it. Sure, why not? But I would still recommend that please spend some time thinking about it. That I think Anish has brought up a good point that see the issue, the idea in the pre-order was that we could just disassemble a stack. I mean the call stack implementation of recursive call, and that we directly converted into a stack, and that was okay, and that worked out well. Does the same stack work here in the post order one? I would recommend just spend some time over it. I think you have asked a good question, but maybe some of us will be able to try that out. So I request everybody to try that out, and let's discuss that. Please remind me in the next class. We'll take this up as the first question. Right? Anish? Okay, Murari has given some code. Can you suggest on recursive weight calculation?
Sir, like
Yeah.
if there are multiple children to a node, will this code work?
Yeah. So RR arrow children, we are assuming it's to be a vector or some collection which supports iteration. So this code will work for arbitrary number of children. But what you are asking is whether this can be written in a recursive manner.
Yes, sir. Like the code which I have written. Yeah.
So okay, I'll mention that this is going to return only the value, right? We have to also take that value into account. So whatever, just before return W, think about it that you are storing that value into the current node. So root arrow W equal to W is what we will do, so that we are storing it inside that. And we need to call, this wait function is going to be recursive, so that seems to be okay. This will work in the recursive code also.
Oh,
We are
okay.
not so that wait. I assumed that to be the function name rather than just a single wait. Single wait we can say is RR arrow W, and the weight itself is the function name. Then it should work, right, Andrea? So it is recursively calling for the children, which will internally call it for its grandchildren and so on. Okay, Andrea has given this RR arrow children equals null. Should be like this, yeah, except for RR's dereference, which is count plus equal to 1 plus W. Yeah, so the directory size is the weight in Murari's code. Return 1 plus count is also fine, or we can, in addition, I was mentioning that we could either print the value directly there or store it inside that structure of RR arrow W equal to count or 1 plus count. Either way should be fine. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions?
Sir, like in between my connection got, like, can you briefly tell about the complexity which you are discussing? I'll look at the video again, but what was the basis of discussion? Complexity between iterative.
No, the complexity of iterative and recursive is going to be the same. The time complexity, even the space complexity, because although it is implicit, the call stack is going to be used for the space, whereas here we are using the stack as the explicit one. So that space complexity will also be the same. What I was talking about is the absolute time might turn out to be different for tail recursive functions. In case of pre-order, it's a tail recursive function, so its complexity will turn out to be not time. The absolute time is going to be similar to the iterative call, because compiler puts some optimization for tail recursive functions. But ignore that. I think that is not part of our PDS discussion. So, I mean, only if somebody has interest in identifying what a tail recursive function is, you can go look it up, or you can also ask me later. Not an issue. Okay. All right. So we'll stop here. See you.